Welcome to Zero Experience Required. This is part 2 of our cookie decorating series. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make royal icing so that you can make the most beautiful sugar cookies you've ever seen. Okay, so to make our meringue icing, our royal icing, you need 3 tablespoons of meringue powder from Wilton. You can buy this at Joann, at Hobby Lobby, probably at Michael's as well, and they also sell it at Walmart. And you could buy it off the internet. So we're going to start with 4 cups of sifted powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of meringue powder, and then we are going to add, we're going to start with 5 tablespoons of water. I'm just going to remove this just to make it a little easier. Make sure you put your lock down to keep the head of your mixer down. And we're just going to slightly stir it up a little bit, get it all mixed up. Then we're going to start adding the water. Now, figuring out royal icing is a lot about just recognizing the texture of it and seeing what it does. And so you just kind of have to look at it to figure out the consistency. And in addition to this video, there's lots of videos on YouTube that you could watch to kind of get different people's perspectives on what the consistency looks like. So we're going to start off by adding 5 tablespoons of water to this mixture. And you want to start with less water because you can't take it back out. So you just add a little bit at a time to get it the right consistency that we want it.
For decorating sugar cookies, we need 2 different consistencies. We need a medium consistency that will hold its shape and allow us to make it the outline. Then we're going to make a thinner consistency, which is going to be our flood, and our flood is going to be filling in. So we're essentially doing an outline on the outside of the cookie and then filling in the color with the flood. So we'll need an outline and a flood. Those are important vocabulary words for our cooking. If you notice as this is kind of stirring up, it isn't really quite a frosting consistency yet, so I will go ahead and add a little bit more water, and it just takes a little bit, about half a teaspoon or half a tablespoon at a time, and then you'll notice an immediate change in the consistency of the frosting.
Okay, I'm going to turn this up, and then you have to let this mix for about 7 minutes, up to 10 minutes, depending on the consistency that you're trying to get. The meringue powder, I don't know if you've ever had like a meringue pie, but it has very stiff little peaks on the top of it. You achieve that by beating an egg white for a very long time until it forms stiff peaks. We're using this meringue powder as a substitute for the egg whites, and so we just need to beat this until it starts forming the stiff peaks that we're looking for. We're going to let it run for about 7 minutes. Okay, our 7 minutes are over, and we're going to take a look at this frosting. It's going to be really, really thick. This icing would be called stiff royal icing. They use this to make like decorated flowers. Sometimes you see on wedding cakes or birthday cakes. You know, if you go to the cake decorating aisle in the grocery store and they have those pre-made little candies, decorations that you could put on your cakes, that's what this is. So they have tips that are made especially for piping that kind of icing through to make pretty flowers. And if you're ever making gingerbread houses, this is the icing that you want to use. It's like glue. It just really sticks things together. We do not need frosting this thick for what we're doing today. We're going to make frosting that is a thinner consistency that will be used for piping our shapes. That's making the outline, and then flooding the inside, which just fills it in with color. So we're going to water this down a little bit more because this is a little too thick for what we need, and we're just going to let it go a little bit longer. If you look at the consistency of it, it's still a little bit thick. It's still kind of just sticking out of my spoon and not falling down, so it's still a little bit too thick. Let's add a little more water. I want to give you a close-up look of the final consistency, so you can kind of see how it's still kind of holding its shape, but it also comes off of here pretty easy. So, I mean, it makes a peak when I pull it out, but it's not as hard as it was before. The tip of it kind of droops down a little bit. You could make it a little bit thinner. Some people do use thinner icing for the outline and for the flooding. I like to use a stiffer one for the outline, just because it gives you a little bit more room for error, and when you're just starting, you don't have to be as quick. So I like the thicker stuff to outline and then use a thinner flood. So we're going to divide this thicker outline consistency and color it. We will save some that we have divided out for a flood color and some for an outline color. And so we'll just save aside some for the outline and then add more water to make the flood consistency a little bit wetter. Royal icing dries out very quickly and will harden up if it's not airtight, so that's why I'm putting saran wrap on here. You can make these ahead of time, and you can make royal icing ahead of time and put it in the freezer for up to a month. It does stay good in your fridge for several days. You do just want to make sure that it's airtight. If you have it in a piping bag, say you've already decorated some cookies and you want to decorate some more, make sure you put a wet paper towel on the tip so that the tip doesn't dry out. These food colorings do stain your hands and your clothes, so some people like to wear gloves to keep their hands from being multicolored. I would also recommend wearing an apron so that you don't ruin your clothing. Now you can tell that this icing is good for the outline because it's kind of staying put where I put it. It's not spilling out over there, it's not filling it in, it's just staying put. And that's just the right consistency that we need for our outlining. Alright, so I just set aside some of this thicker consistency frosting in a piping bag. And you can buy these disposable piping bags at any of your major hobby stores or Walmart. They're super great. But if you have the more traditional reusable ones, you can use those too. So I just like to kind of fold it over a little bit just so it doesn't dry out. And I just like to leave the tip closed for now. When I'm ready to decorate, I will cut it open. For the remainder, we're going to add a little bit of water. And we're going to make this icing what's called 20-second icing. So that means we're going to make a little line in it, and we want it to take about 20 seconds for it to fill back in on itself and not have a line there anymore. So definitely going to need more water than that. One website recommended using a spray bottle to add a little bit of water at a time. It's actually not a terrible idea. And if you go too far over on this, if you add too much water, you can add a little bit of powdered sugar to bring it back to a thicker consistency. Okay, so how you're going to know it's ready is we're going to draw a little line in here, and then we want it to take about 20 seconds for the line to fill back in and disappear. I wasn't counting, I don't know how long that was, but it's close, it's a good consistency. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for it to just kind of flood back in and fill in any voids. That's what you're going to use to fill the inside of your cookies. Alright, so we're just going to pour this into our bottle. Also, you do not have to use 10 million mixing bowls to mix up these colors. This washes off really fast and easily. So if you just run it under the sink in hot water, then you're ready for a new color. Again, watch how it just kind of floods in and fills up that space. That's exactly what we're looking for. One trick when you're filling up these frosting bags is to flip the edge under. So you notice I kind of cupped mine like that, and that way you can scrape your spoon off like that. And also it keeps the top clean so that you can fold this up and not have frosting escaping out of the top. Thanks for watching. I'll include a recipe for royal icing down below, and I hope you'll give this a try. It's a lot of fun.